That time.
We'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners May 29th meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Potter, you had something you wanted to start off with?
Well, we wish Commissioner Hewsome a happy birthday.
Thank you.
We won't say what age she is or anything like that.
Let me just say that two of my closest relatives told me, welcome to Medicare.
That's always good.
They're older than me, so I think they've been waiting to be able to say
That's
that.
right. And too much time on their hands.
Yeah.
There was thoughts of singing you happy birthday, but I don't know. I really hate to make the audience suffer through something like that.
Well, and I appreciate the beautiful cake back there, so anyone that would like a piece, please stop back in the board car.
Before Charlie gets it.
Yeah.
Before Charlie gets back for seconds.
Yeah. Alrighty. Minutes from the county board meeting of May 15th.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from May 14th.
Second.
May 14th or 15th?
Or May 15th, I'm sorry.
I'll second that.
I'm a day off.
Whenever it was.
Whatever it was.
Motion by Commissioner Batch, second by Commissioner Burrell. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Review and approval of agenda. Does anybody have anything to add?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewsome. Any other discussions?
Wow, we actually followed the rules this time. We were petitioning for quite a while there.
Hearing none. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they want to remove for further discussions?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Potter. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. 9:03. Dr. Quinn?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me on this lovely warm day. I'm Dr. Strobel. Each year I come to present the summary of the deaths that were reported to the medical examiner's office for Wright County. So I'm going over 2017. Last year, our office had 571 deaths reported to us. Of those, we performed 48 autopsies. Of the natural deaths, we performed 17 autopsies, and the decedents ranged in age from 22 to 67, and the majority of those deaths were due to heart disease. There were 5 motor vehicle fatalities in 2017. The ages ranged from 31 to 67, and 4 of the 5 were male. Methamphetamine use was a factor in 2 incidents, and another person was under the influence of alcohol and alprazolam, which is a benzodiazepine. There were 19 deaths classified as non-motor vehicle accident. 8 of those were attributed to drugs, alcohol, or substance abuse. Of those 8, the ages ranged from 17 to 51, and again, the majority, 6, were male. Substances that were detected included carfentanil, 2 incidents of fentanyl, 1 of heroin. So I'm sure we've all seen in the news lately those funky fentanyls that are coming up and carfentanils. Some of those incidents, people may be seeking heroin, and the fentanyls are bought instead without knowledge. Other times people are seeking the stronger drugs. Unfortunately.
What is buprenorphine?
Buprenorphine is actually a substance that's used in treatment of opiate, like methadone used to be. It's a combination usually of buprenorphine and I think it's naloxone, I'm blanking. Unfortunately, though, that drug can also be diverted and abused. So it is another one of the opioids. So there's all the opioids are carfentanil, fentanyl, buprenorphine, heroin, methadone, and oxycodone. So the majority of substances there are an opiate or an opioid. Additionally, 7 deaths in the elderly population were due to complications of falls from standing height. An 18-year-old drowned, and a 58-year-old, it should be female, died to environmental exposure. The one positive thing, there were no deaths attributed to homicide last year. Unfortunately, there were 17 suicide deaths. The decedents ranged in age from 16 to 95 years. The average was 44. Of those, 4 were in their teens. And again, as you can see the trend, the majority, 14, were male. Alcohol was present in 4 incidents, and cocaine was present in 1. The majority of those deaths were due to gunshot wounds, with hanging being second. Lastly, 450 cremations were approved, and that number does increase with most of our counties every year. But it's an honor and a privilege to serve as your medical examiner. If anyone has any questions for me.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yeah. Dr. Strobel, I'm curious about the Lodox imaging and wondering if that's something that's, seems like that would be pretty effective for, sort of just a scan in general in place of an autopsy. So wondering if those numbers, I mean, it's not a lot that you do it on. Is that something that's expensive to use or not as effective? I just was curious, basically.
Yeah, our Lodox is more like it's really mostly a skeletal survey,
Okay.
But also looking for projectiles and other metal dentals,
Okay.
medical hardware. So it isn't like a CT scan that you can see a lot of soft tissue and make a lot of those kind of diagnoses. It's mostly for bones and projectiles and other metals. It certainly can be helpful if families are opposed to an exam, say in a motor vehicle crash, or we can do at least an x-ray and look to see if there's lethal, skull fractures, rib fractures, that kind of thing. So, but we don't do it in every case if it's not necessary.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I was just curious. Nice to know there's no unidentified bodies.
Yes, it's always comfort.
Yes.
It's not really for we have a new physician who came from New Mexico, and so they have a lot, unfortunately, of the border crossers, and so a whole different population. But fortunately, our community seems to at least know each other and mostly take care of each other.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Strobel, cremations, do you have to approve all cremations?
Yes.
For the county?
Yes.
Natural death, no matter what?
Yes, and we actually just had a wonderful example. I was just on the phone. In general, though, so unfortunately the body would be considered evidence until proven otherwise, and so we have to make sure that a death doesn't fall under jurisdiction before it's cremated. Sometimes people slip through the cracks if they die in a hospital of trauma and it wasn't reported to us. It's one way, if they are cremated, for us to catch it and say, okay, do we need to do an exam or not? We just had a case from up north where there was some confusion and an ambulance dropped off a young woman who passed away in a tent, just dropped her right off at the funeral home, and we only found out about, yes, bad, I'm dealing with that right now, but we only found out about her because the funeral home submitted a cremation approval. So we were like, no, we'll take it from here. So yes, a lot of times people kind of forget policies or procedures. So it's just one way to make sure that all the deaths are reported to us appropriately. If someone's buried, it wouldn't necessarily be brought forward to us, but at least worst comes to worst, they could be exhumed or otherwise. Once somebody's cremated, it's not like CSI where they can recreate somebody from the ashes.
Yeah.
Not yet.
No.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Anybody else have any questions?
That's
Mr. Chair, just looking at the suicides are steady but too high still, but you hate that. The good note of information is that nobody over the age of 90 died due to a fall from standing, sitting, or bed height.
Yeah.
I find it interesting.
For the older ones in the crowd here, just messing with them, that,
Yeah.
once you get 90, you're safe.
Right? Exactly.
I just find it interesting that somebody at 95 committed suicide.
I know, yeah.
Now, that's,
Depression is
you deal with
pretty
it.
prevalent among the elderly, but still, you'd think if they made it that far, they might as well try to hang in there.
Yeah, too bad.
Yes, it's sad.
It is
It's
sad.
sad no matter what age, but particularly when you have the 4 teenagers, that's,
So these are all people, so if somebody's a resident of the county and they, say, die at HCMC, they would be considered under HCMC's numbers then? So these are just actual people that died physically in the county?
Yes, yes.
That's how that number's totaled out, okay. So
Yes.
it's not based on residency, it's mostly based on,
Wherever the person passes away, that's who assumes jurisdiction.
okay.
Do we need a motion to approve this? Okay.
yeah.
No more
We
questions?
Appreciate getting this information every year.
Yes.
Good to see you all.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Have a later day.
Sorry that you weren't able to make it earlier in the year. I think a little bit of snow or something caused you a problem.
From the snow to the heat.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, do we need to make any kind of informational, or do you want?
This is just a report. Be on the website.
No.
That's just
Sounds
informational.
good.
Informationally.
We're running
We're a
out of
little
time.
early, 9:17. We'll go with Fred Bankston and Bob McGilvery.
McGilvery, yes.
McGilvery.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to present some information to you this morning. Again, I'm Bob McGilvery with the Trust for Public Land, and this is Fred, oh, it's hiding on me, Fred Bankston with the Minnesota DNR. My organization, the Trust for Public Land, is a national land conservation organization, and our mission is to conserve land for people to enjoy as parks and natural areas, ensuring livable communities for generations to come. What we do is buy land from willing private landowners and then convey it to units of government for permanent protection for people to enjoy and for wildlife to have habitat. The piece of property that we're here to talk with you about today would be an addition to the Grass Lake Wildlife Management Area that's in Stockholm Township. The piece of property is approximately 116 acres. I think you have a map in your packet. I do have some extras if by chance you don't. Okay, wonderful. This addition would connect two parcels at the WMA that are not currently connected, and it would improve public access. It would also provide great habitat for pheasant and deer, especially wintering habitat and some migratory species. It would also protect the wetland there. Much of this land is wet, and protecting it would have good water quality benefits. I'll note that the Wright County Water Management Plan notes that protection of wetlands is important for water quality. The family that owns this property has owned it for generations and very much would like to have it protected and added to this wildlife management area. This transaction in particular, my organization would acquire the property with funds that we've received from the Outdoor Heritage Fund as recommended by the Lessard-Sams Outdoor Heritage Council. These are the so-called legacy funds from the amendment that was passed in 2008. We've received a grant for those funds. So we would acquire the property and then donate it to the Minnesota DNR. We also are providing substantial funds to the DNR for restoration to occur on the property, removal of buckthorn and other types of invasive species. The DNR does not pay taxes on property that it owns. However, they do pay what are called payment in lieu of taxes, or PILT. The current taxes payable are $2,396 a year. The PILT payments will be $2,430 a year. So the PILT payments will actually be just a little bit more than the real estate taxes payable on this property. Fred and I appeared before the township a couple of weeks ago, and they did not raise any objections to this acquisition. And in conclusion, I'd like to say that although county board approval is not technically required for this transaction go forward, we would very much appreciate it if you would see fit to make a motion and approve this transaction. And with that, we'll be happy to try and answer any questions that you might have.
Just one moment. Bob, could you help them get it up on the screen? I just would like the public to be able to see this map.
Up there.
Put some lights there.
The map?
So yeah, just put the map up there. And that's just so the public can see it. And then the area that you're planning on purchasing is outlined in the red?
That is correct.
And my question, I think, is more to Fred. I don't know if you're aware of this, but we have kind of a pilot project, because this system here, the Grass Lake, is included in one of our county ditches, Ditch 10. And we have a pilot project that we actually have an engineering firm that's been retained and doing a lot of things to look at water quality and drainage at the same time. And one of the things that we looked at, and I want to make sure this isn't going to be an issue down the road, I think you're okay with it, but is to possibly be using Grass Lake as maybe a flood control measure to put a type of a weir at the outlet. I think it's County Road 5 right there. Yeah. And so, and we've looked at different things, but possibly even maybe dropping it down just slightly, but then allowing it to go maybe even up to a foot or so higher to meter the water out so that we don't have this bounce on Lake Ann and Lake Emma that are downstream. And I just want to make sure that's something that we'd be able to work with you guys. I mean, because if all of a sudden now it's DNR property and we can't do anything, project related down the road, it would be an issue, I guess.
Right. Well, that falls right in line with what we'd hope to see as well. Our long-range goal for Grass Lake has been try to restore the lake. Obviously, we have a ways to go with ownership, but we look at opportunities when landowners are interested in selling. In this case, it's a beautiful mix of part of Grass Lake and some upland. But yes, we would support any measure to restore wetlands.
That's all I need then, because now, if you had all of the property around there, and when we raise let's say we make it the weir so it goes higher, and now we're flooding somebody's property, I'm thinking, well, on the buy down side of it, or the compromise side of it, we could drop it down a little bit so you would be able to do some haying or something. But if you own all the property, then make it a lake. I wouldn't, it's not a big thing.
Well, as you can see from the map, we have a ways to go with that.
Yeah, but for now, like I said, if we were to come up with a plan, and I'm not saying this is even on.
Yep.
It is, but let's say we drop it down 6 inches, but allow it to go 12 higher to have that bounce. You would be something that you would at least work with us on.
Right, definitely. We would support that and actively pursue it.
And I don't know the numbers. I'm just throwing 6 inches out there. The engineer might come up with something different.
Sure.
So.
No, we would support that.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you're aware of it, but we are working with Soil and Water on this with the engineering firm. I can't remember the name of the engineering firm.
They're out of
ISG.
Yeah.
So, we are having some major issues out on Lake Ann, so.
Right, we're also, assessed, as a landowner, we're assessed for, judicial ditch charges as well, so.
Okay, so we can, if we get it done right, we can have the majority of the demand requirements being on the DNR property, is that what you're saying?
Fair and square, right?
I did want to point something out, and I think I mentioned this to the public before, but Lake Ann last year probably had some of the best water quality that they've had. I know I talked to some people since they've lived on the lake, and one of the reasons is we did not have the big 6-inch, 4.5-inch, 7-inch rains that we had just 1 inch, maybe 1.5 inches all summer long. And Grass Lake never got flushed down.
Right.
And so it's a real issue, and I think they're seeing it, so they know what we need to do kind of to keep
it's a good testimonial. Yeah. And of course we'd like to see that on more of a regular basis.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
So would we.
Mr. Chair, with that, I'll make a motion that we approve, and I know Chris isn't big on public land, and I'm not either, but I think on this project, if you're willing to work with us on this, I think it would be a valuable thing to us.
I'll second that.
It's not that I'm not big on public land, it's just how much,
Purchase of more-
how
of more
much
and
do we
more.
need, so, yeah, so.
All right, so you have a motion and a second, Mr.
So
Chair.
I'll make the motion that we give our blessing, I guess. It's not really, you need our approval, but, you know, that we would,
All right, motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Potter. Is there any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Fred, thank you for being open to communications. I want to thank both of you for going before Stockholm Township. Let them know, because the worst thing for us is when you get blindsided by something. And I know with Pelican Lake, the line of communication has been fantastic on everything going there. St. Michael's pleased, the residents are, I'm not hearing any complaint from anybody because they're getting timely information. And that's just the kind of guy you are. I've known you for a while. And I like that, in the fact that you're understand what we're doing down there and are do what it takes to make it cleaner, because, you know, that's the mission, is to get the clean water.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank
The
you.
only complaint I've heard about Pelican Lake is the fishing has gone to hell. How much lower are you gonna be taking that down?
We're hoping for 4 feet. If we're fortunate this year, we might get it, and that would be temporary for about 2 years, and then we'd allow it to return to approximately where it's at right now.
Yeah, I've driven by it, and it's down considerably. It looks a lot different than it ever used to,
Right.
which has gotta help. Well, I know somebody that lives on there, and
We're
they were
making
glad to get more of their property back.
progress and improves as the lake keeps dropping, because we're taking that same amount off, so it's more noticeable now. It's
Yeah, it definitely is. Alrighty, any other discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Matt, are you okay with that? Okay.
Yeah.
I should have asked you.
I was looking at Matt and he wasn't looking upset, so.
Well, once the minutes are approved in writing, Matt will be very comfortable.
Yeah.
Good to meet you, Robert.
Thanks, Fred.
Yeah. Okay.
Board, the first item on my agenda is one I always look forward to each year. It is a temporary liquor license for the Church of St. Mary, Czestochowa,
Just so
in
you can
Franklin
say the
Township.
word.
It's an event on July 15th. We have the proper application and signatures and fees.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion. We approve a temporary liquor license for the Church of St. Mary's of Czestochowa
I'll second
in
that.
Franklin Township.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Newsom. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Board, the second item on the agenda is approving the Gordon addition in Corinna Township. The Mylars are in the back for yours and Lee's signature.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve this. I was at the Corinna Town Board meeting when this was brought forward, so I'm glad that it's all come together.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Newsom, second by Commissioner Potter. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
For the next item, I'm going to have Matt come up here. He took direction. We met with H2 overviewers, so he has some updates for you guys.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I am here to ask you approve the findings and orders appointing H2 overviewers as the viewers on County Ditch number 36 and County Ditch number 33. This is one I've worked with Derek a lot on lately. We've had emergency repairs on both systems, so I think doing a redetermination of benefits, so when we do assessments that they're fair, I think it's pretty vital. And then when we met with them, it sounded like their time frame would be within the next 3 or 4 months, which I think we are all pretty excited about. So.
No, Mr. Chair, no, the H2 reviewers was, I'm excited to try out a different aspect to trying to get the redetermination of benefits. They thought that they could be completed through the entire process and even the appeals process by, at the latest, October. So that basically by the end of August, actually having the determinations figured out and then just spending the next 30, 60 days, September, October, through the appeals process and what that may or may not bring. With that, with our Drainage Authority hats, I'd make a motion to approve the viewers for County Ditch 36. We're working at around roughly 8,000 to 9,000 for County Ditch 36.
Yeah, so the estimate is at $5.15 per acre, and then with the watershed, because Houston had already done a lot of the legwork, which helped get this done a lot faster as well. It looks like $8,755 for CD 36 and $20,600 for CD 33, which is much larger.
And also for the redetermination for County Ditch 33 as well in that motion.
I'll second that.
And then these are both, should we do them separately, Greg?
You want to do, okay. So 36 first then.
Well, 33 is the first
Oh,
one.
33 is first, okay, 33.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Potter. Is there any other discussions? Just one, and this is saving those people a fair amount of money by looking at doing it a different way.
As far as I can tell from now, yeah, it probably would, so.
Good. And faster.
So, Mr. Chair, just so I'm clear, are we doing 36 or 33?
We're going to do 33 first in the packet. That's the first one, so instead of confusing
Everybody, here.
me, we'll go by the packet. All right, so resolution for ditch 33. Commissioner Burrell.
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous. I'll entertain a motion for the resolution for County Ditch 36.
I will move that, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Burrell. Is there any other discussions, questions regarding County Ditch 36? Hearing none. Commissioner Burrell?
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous for both 33 and 36.
Commissioners, thank you. We're going to use this kind of like as a pilot. You know, we are set to redetermine all of our ditch systems. We're going to see how well these two systems go with H2 overviewers. And if it goes as well as we anticipate it will, we may be coming after setting up redetermination systematically for the rest of the county. So.
And, Mr. Chair, Bob, I guess, Matt, this is what, using the drones, is that essentially?
LiDAR, drones.
LiDAR and drones, okay.
Just a lot of mapping,
Okay.
yep. Not so much the boots on the grounds
Yep.
type.
Good.
So we'll see how it goes. And they have, just so that's for the rest of the board, I can't remember the number of how many they have done. They haven't had really any issues. They've been taken to court once, but so have the boots on the ground people.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't foresee any issues with it either.
Good.
So Commissioner Vetch and I both met with them, and it was very impressive.
Very impressive. Yeah. They're very thorough in wanting to show you how the process that they go about it. And I tell you, we get a lot more information from this that we'd be able to potentially add to Beacon, whereas currently when we get a redetermination, we wouldn't get this information that we could potentially put into our mapping system.
Yeah, Matt was really, he was kind of foaming at the mouth with some of the maps they were providing. He was really excited.
Well,
You know, kids, they get excitable easily.
did you guys know that Matt is like an official Beaver Dam tear down guy now?
Yeah, right, I heard about
He's
that.
taking over for the Swanson brothers?
No, he's just tearing them down, he's not trapping them.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't even need waiters. He just goes in there, just.
All by hand.
We're not gonna let them have dynamite though either. No fun. Alrighty, Captain O'Malley.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Board.
Morning.
Hope you all enjoyed the great heat wave of the last weekend.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Well, here to talk about food service contract. We'll start with that one. With Airmark, our current contract ends end of June. This is a 3-year extension, what I'm bringing forward. First year is at 0%, then a 2 and a 2.5. I think it equates to about 1.8 across the board on all 3 years of the contract, which, according to my research, is right in the money is for projections for food increases and whatnot over the next 3 years. So first year would be 0, like I said, which would go from June of this year to July. And so that's their
their contract date rate. Any questions on the food service
Mr.
contract?
Chair, for the most part, these are cheaper than my kids' school lunches.
We are
so.
very much in the money. Yeah, we are very much in the money. From the research that I do with other jails across the state, how they're paying for meals and whatnot, our contract rates are very competitive.
Yeah.
Well, especially because you guys aren't ever really under that, 120.
No, we're running at the top rates regularly. So the best rates that we can get from them. So, yep. No, it's a very competitive contract.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we authorize signatures on the jail food contract with
Second.
Aramark.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Potter. Any other discussions? And just for the public, if you think they're eating high off the hog, the food is nutritious, but it is by far from restaurant quality.
Well, I can't imagine at $2.12 or $2.17 that they could be getting. They're not getting steak and
While
lobster.
it's not
for that.
Applebee's, it is good, nutritious food. It is. We obviously have to fall under state statutes and guidelines on dietary and whatnot. And it is good quality food, but our population is over 200 inmates. You got allergies, you got all kinds of different things. So the diet is set up to cover all those people, so we don't have to create extra meals or extra, different diets for different people.
So we're not subcharged with vegetarian meals or things like that nature?
No, this covers everything, and we do have some special diets. It does come up, but that's the purpose of the way we try to create our menus, so that we can eliminate those to the most that we can. But unfortunately, there are some religious diets, more specifically like kosher stuff, that we can't accommodate necessarily in our regular diet. So we have to create a new menu plan for those kinds of things. Most like challah. Pretty much everything else, religious-wise, is covered under our current diet. The only thing that would be some specific allergies that we do run into on occasion. Yeah.
Those are rare.
They are. We probably run half a dozen to a dozen separate diet meals, and they are specific to certain kinds of foods that we just can't eliminate out of our diet. And typically, they're related to some medical condition. So.
Okay.
Any other discussions? And we had a motion and a second.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Second, here is a request to increase our current structure. The way we've done our medical contracts is with addendums based on either what our targeted issue is or in relation to the count going up. So if the count comes back down, we could tick those things back off of our list, but right now we don't foresee the count coming down any. We are experiencing over, as you have probably heard on more than one occasion in the media, the mental health issues that come up. Well, along with that comes a lot of other medical issues as well. Just in general, I think our inmate population is becoming has more and more medical needs than they have in years past. And what we're requesting on this contract is a 0.4 increase. We're currently at 2.6 RNs, so this 0.4 would bring us up to 3 RNs. We are seeing every one of our inmates within the first 72 hours of their incarceration. Of course, we triage those, so if they're getting out within that 72 hours, we don't spend as much time as we may on somebody who's going to be with us longer, depending on their situation, of course. But we are seeing a much higher increase of inmates with different kinds of complicated medical problems. I don't understand, other than the demographics of the population that we serve in the jail. Typically they are not people who take care of themselves that well. They live life a little differently than the rest of society. So it does create some issues with medical, and we have a lot of medical problems. We are able, though, I will say, to deal with pretty much everything in the jail. And then when you look at our cost per inmate, we're down around, I think about $70 per inmate per year. So I think we do things pretty efficiently. But there is a cost to it, obviously. So to doing that, and this is something that we've gone through our medical unit. This is essentially, we're running a clinic. We are running a clinic, not essentially. We are running a clinic in the jail. We've gone through everything from med lines to watching every nurse and how much time they're spending on an inmate, what the things are that are causing the complications or the extra time with the inmates. And it's just complicated because a lot of these people that we're dealing with have several different providers. They're bouncing around from provider to provider when they're on the streets. And so it isn't as simple as making a request to Alina for a medical record. It's trying to find out where they're at, who's with them. A lot of the providers don't know about the other providers. So there's a lot of complications in regards to that, dealing with getting a continuity of some type of medical care put together for those people that have that need. And it is very, very time consuming, and we've looked at everything that we've done. We've made some improvements and some efficiencies within our clinic and working with MEND, but we do need some extra RN time, and that's where this is coming from.
The Chair will make a motion to approve the increase.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Vetch. Any other discussions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Captain O'Malley, you're comfortable and confident that this slight increase, will take care of the challenge that you have out there?
I'm very confident that.
Okay,
we aren't coming to you today because somebody just asked us. This has been about this request came from our medical director about 3 months ago. We've spent the last 3 months making sure that we vetted out the times, that people are, that we're being as efficient as we can. We've changed some internal practices within the jail on how we get inmates to medical, because it's not just a simple, you walk into the clinic and get seen. In the jail, there's a whole process just to get to the clinic, depending on where you're housed and the type, the classification of the inmate and everything. So we've gone back to the base roots of just moving an inmate to medical. How do we get them there? How do we get them seen? How do we, triage them? We've gone through everything over the past 3 months to make sure that the time is actually needed, and so we have improved a number of things, but the time is actually
so you've done your due diligence to know what you need to get this done, because what I don't want is you just come back, we need a number now, and next year come back, we need another the fact you've gone through this, I like that, I applaud it, because now we know, because if you said, okay, we need, instead of a 0.6, we need 1.6 or something, let's do it now and get it so we take care of these, because that mental health issue, #1 issue in the state, and you're seeing it front line.
Oh, we are, and we have in our, I think the last addendum, 2 years ago, whatever it was, that we approved that, it had some additional mental health time. And this is our end time for triage and dealing specifically with the inmates. It does work also for mental health time because they do a lot of counseling through just normal visits.
Is this 7 days a week, or is it?
It's 0.4 comes out to 2 days a week. Mm-hmm. We're at a point where we have a 0.6 that we're going to move to a full-time FTE within in the contract. So she's currently working 3 days a week, so it comes out to an additional 16 hours a week. Typically, we work them Monday through Friday and on call on the weekends. We have even looked at, part of this process was looking at, should we increase or change our contract hours and rates to make coverage on the weekend? But on-call works very well for us, and the number of times that we're actually sending people to the hospital because we have a need, we're still money ahead using the ER in those cases than bringing a person on. The other part of that problem is during the weekend, most of the places that they are dealing with these outside providers are not open and available for them to get information from. So, a big part of what they're doing can't be done on the weekends. So it just makes sense to leave them Monday through Friday, where they can get the bulk of their work done. And right now, we are using the ER on occasion on the weekends when we can't, when we have a situation that is. And typically, when we have a situation that has to go to the ER, it would be something that's going to the hospital, even if we had a nurse here. So, in our view, that it just doesn't pay to bring somebody on during the weekends, right?
I'm just glad that you're actually looking at those numbers. I
Oh, we are
appreciate that
looking at
and
those
comparing it
numbers.
one
Yep.
versus the other.
Yep.
Any other questions? I do have one. Regarding the contract ones that we're dealing with from the state and other counties. I know when they come from the other counties, they supposedly have been triaged and taken care of there. Do we get reimbursed from those other counties for medical?
Yes, all of the counties that we do business with, all the medical costs, other than just the normal clinic nurse visit, you know, when they come in to see the nurse for a cold or whatever, that's part of what we provide. If they have to go out or they need medications or anything, there's an additional cost that, all that gets billed back to the county. The only exception is DOC contract, and that's something that we're in negotiations on right now, is they consider medications as part of routine medical care, which nobody else in the country considers that part of routine medical care, except the Minnesota Department of Corrections.
So that comes out of that $55 a day rate, or?
Yes.
Yeah, so that makes it really, a real fine line then.
And, I mean, the medications for the DOC are not breaking the bank, but nonetheless, there is a consistency issue across all, and so we are trying to negotiate with the DOC on that. They're not a very easy entity to negotiate with.
And I just need to get all the counties that are under contract with the DOC to help negotiate. Together.
Team up.
Yep.
One large voice is better than tiny small voices.
Yep.
All right. Any other discussions or questions?
Nope.
Hearing none, just a regular, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Didn't we had a motion in a second.
Yeah, it was just so long ago.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good Captain.
Virgil.
Mr. Hawkins, County Highway Engineer.
Good morning, Chairman Dolan and Board of Commissioners. There's two items today for your consideration. The first one is to adopt a resolution approving a maintenance agreement with Hennepin County, and this covers 3 county line roads that we maintain and bill Hennepin County, and 3 county line bridges that they maintain and they bill us. And this would replace 2 existing agreements, and this new agreement would be in effect through December 31st, 2023.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution on the maintenance agreement.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Batch. Is there any other discussions? Resolution, Commissioner Potter.
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous.
Okay, thank you. The next item is to approve a resolution of final acceptance for the 2017 pavement preservation project. This was contract 1702 with Knife River. Authorized final payment amount of $29,998.01. And this was for last year's project that included Highways 6, 9, 16, and 30 in Delano, 108 and 110 in the compost facility lot, and the sheriff's impound facility lot.
Mr. Chair, I'll move forth that resolution.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Newsom. Is there any other discussions? Resolution. Commissioner Vetch.
Aye.
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 Aye. Resolution carries unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Virgil, regarding County Road 35, with that turn lane up in St. Michael.
Yes.
It looks like it turned out nice. I seen you cleaned out some of the ditches there too.
Yeah, there was some ditch maintenance that needed done. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of overdue by the looks of it.
Yeah, our maintenance staff worked on that and they did a really good job.
Yep.
Turned out nice.
Yeah. I'm assuming they'll be going back eventually to
Yes.
clean it up and seed it.
Yep.
You use just regular seeds or?
There's a ditch seed mix that we use in the county ditches, and then they'll put some erosion control blanket on, or so it'll work out.
Good. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Virgil, thank you for striping you know, 37 up to the bridge in Albertville, I'm here, and everybody around there is just happy it's striped now because it was a little challenging.
Oh, that was bad.
We were disappointed. It got striped initially last fall, and the stripe wore out much quicker than it should have, and so it was our first priority to get striped once we could get the striping crews on the road with weight restrictions and things, and that got done first. But
People have noticed, and they've been calling and telling me every time they see me, they say, "Thanks for getting that done right away."
Yeah. Yeah, and it looked like actually where they're turning it's actually starting to wear already.
Really?
I don't know.
We'll take a look at that.
But I'm sure Commissioner Potter and I will both be keeping an eye on it because it's a bad spot there.
You know, let's say maybe the lighting could change there,
No, this was during the day, it just seemed like, but yeah, we'll have to see how it goes.
We'll keep an eye on it, and also to let you know, later this fall, we're gonna do some maintenance patching along the roadway on the one side, I guess the west side of the bridge is in need of some patching, so we're gonna patch that this fall and then restripe it, so if we need to restripe that across the bridge again, we'll do that.
Yeah, what you did on the east side turned out really nice.
Yeah.
You know, but the west side definitely needs it, it needs a little help. Also, Virgil, to let your people know if there's coyote sightings off County Road 19, that was a farmer putting that in there to keep the deer off his crop, and it exploded in Facebook this weekend, just going bananas. So I gotta imagine that you guys are gonna get called about coyote sightings off County Road 19 in Alabama.
So we don't have to put any coyote crossing signs up. Okay.
I think it's a fake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Virgil.
All right.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Another resolution for your approval. As I indicated, it's essentially a housekeeping item. Back in October of last year, you voted to accept the donation of 16.5 acres of land from Irma and Roland Glessing. And for all I know, the signs already may be up on that property as county park. We missed having you approve a resolution at that time, and thought it would be better to take care of that in case the auditors look at that type of thing on an annual basis.
Mr. Chair, I'll move forth the resolution accepting land donation from Roland and Irma Glessing.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Vetch. Any other discussions? Resolution, aye.
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 Thank you.
Resolution carries unanimous. Thank you.
All right.
Items for consideration, none. Advisory Committee, Commissioner Potter, we'll start with you since you spent some very important quality time solving all of our road issues at Washington, D.C.
We'd like to think that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. For part of the last week, I was out in D.C. for the Transportation Alliance fly-in. Its group's been meeting going out there for 125 years, you know, advocating for roads. Again, this year we teamed up with Wisconsin to go out together. That's why we left a little earlier than normal. And it actually worked out pretty well because we're part of the Midwest, the 94-90 coalition, things and all that going on. So it's good to have the couple different entities there to help show that our problems are mutual out here. One of the problems we have in the Midwest is we only have 3 people on that committee in the House. Rick Nolan's representative is going to retire within this year, so I'm hoping that they can replace somebody else from the Midwest. Because otherwise, without Nolan, Lewis, and then there's a representative from Missouri, it's all East Coast, West Coast people. So that's why it's a challenge for Midwest to get any projects. Last year, we got approval for 0 Tiger grants in the Midwest here, which is disconcerting, especially Minnesota here with some of the challenges. They have the new build program, which the Ellen build is about leverage, about local projects. And we've been encouraging our districts to submit projects. District 3 has submitted 3, which is the max you can submit. Just submit them like crazy. We've been working with Congressman Lewis because he's sitting on there on that trust. He's very rare for a freshman to get on that committee, and he's been impressive. He digs into the details, and it doesn't matter which side of the aisle. If it's right, it's right. You know, it's good to go. I mean, I'm impressed. This year he was actually available for speaking too, and I got a couple different good conversations in with him. Quite a bit of it was funding coming from the feds to Minnesota, And the other part was the regulations, some of them that are just redundant and ridiculous for when you're doing road construction, because one of the stats is since year 2000, the cost of the roads have increased 40% due to regulation and environmental concerns. And that's, consultants love it because they make a lot of money, but it doesn't put the money in the roads. And that's where the challenge is right now. To meet with everybody, every congressman, every that senator was there, except for Tim Walz. He was out campaigning there because I wanted to get a talk with him why he has not ever supported the 94 coalition. He's never put his signature on that. A little disconcerting knowing that he's running for governor and would, for lack of better words, make mad people from Maple Grove all the way to St. Cloud on this issue. Because he was more fixed with the county highway 14, which is, we all have problems, and we've been really hard, working hard on getting this 94, 14, 212, 7, it's all our problem. We're in this together. It's not me versus you. That's the good news with all of them out there. They understand the connection between the country and the city with that, where some of the metro people were all about metro because this is where the money's at, but they understand the food you just ate came from the country. So we're working on that. Also regulations with roads and bridges in the ag community, because some of those bridges are old and are not made for the trucks and that they do today, and the manufacturing going on. The other, let's see, the other part of it was the getting them to the governor not to veto the bonding bill. He has a line item on that. He has not done. He's vetoed everything else, but he hasn't vetoed the bonding bill. And I know we've been flooding him with emails, past this. He understands with this one, he's got the 14 days and he can mark it down. But most of that is for greater Minnesota, quite a bit of that bonding, and it'll hurt if he decides to veto that whole darn thing. But I don't anticipate him doing that, but it should be good news for roads and bridges for us to get a little bit more funding. All in all, it's always fun to go out there because sometimes you wonder if it's really worth your effort, but you gotta show up. These people, they were all in committees running back and forth before the holiday weekend. That's the one challenge because a lot of them left town at Thursday afternoon, get the flights out, but they managed to get to talk to quite a few of them.
Good. Anything else? That's okay. Coordinator Kelly, do you have anything?
A little slow over a week last week, of course, with not having a board meeting, so that was good. I did have a nice meeting on IT and admin department strategy and how we can work together with technology in our departments with Pat, the new IT strategy manager, so that was good. Kind of on my own time, I was able to attend the MnDOT open house up in St. Cloud, which was interesting to talk about everything that they do and kind of how it relates to the county, and kids like to see the big trucks, so that was fun. So,
right.
A little quiet over a week, so.
Did they let them drive it?
They wouldn't let me drive it, so.
Well, I was wondering, I know that, but I was wondering about the kids. I figured your son would, be happy to get up in that truck.
He loved that, yep.
Good. Commissioner Burrell.
I didn't have anything big on the county per se, but I did want to thank everyone as a veteran for everyone that showed up yesterday at service around the county, around the state and country. I know the crowd at Waverly was especially big this year. I'm betting there were over 500 people there. We had a special tribute to the World War I veterans. It was the 100th year since the end of World War I, and it was just really nice to see people come out to honor the people that gave the supreme sacrifice. So thank everyone for that. Thank you.
Commissioner Houston?
Yeah, it would be nice to be able to get to all of the
you can only do
ones,
one or two.
and they're all, so I was able to catch part of Buffalo's, and then I went up to Annandale for their memorial service, and yeah, both very touching. I mean, Buffalo, they read all the fallen veterans from all the wars essentially, so all those who've served who have passed, and it's a nice tribute. And I always appreciate in Annandale they've got a soldier that's dressed as a Civil War veteran by the memorial there, and he stands, you know, with his head down, with his hands resting on his rifle, and it's got to be hot. And he holds that pose for when all the people are coming through, and for a long time until they start the service. So yeah, it's cool. But otherwise, I think that's about it.
Did you go to the drug court graduation?
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to, and I couldn't, so I was hoping that you'd.
I didn't bring my calendar, so I sort of forgot some of the things that I did last week, but I did go to the drug court, and yeah, that was just really great. They held the drug court, and then they had the graduation, the 2 graduates.
Was two of them this year?
3.
3.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But there was others, I think there's going to be some eligible to graduate in June. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they told some very, you know, heartfelt stories, and so, I mean, more power to them, and drug court's working.
I'm just glad to see people, they were going through the whole process and they're doing the work, and it is work for them.
And I guess I could say that, you know, 2 of us will be leaving in about a half an hour for a flight to Washington, D.C. for the invitation to the White House briefing and tour on Thursday, so that was pretty exciting. All the counties in Minnesota are not going to be represented, which I thought maybe more would be going, but I think there's probably 34 counties or so, 51 people. And
34 out of 68.
so we'll be going to NACO,
87.
National Association of Counties, will be giving us a briefing on Wednesday evening, and then the briefing, the tour at the White House will be 9:30 on Thursday, and then the briefing is starting at 10:30. It will go they are estimating until 3:30 in the afternoon, so it's pretty extensive.
The briefing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I didn't think it was going to be that long.
Yeah. We're kind of hoping lunch might be included, but
better take notes to figure out what you're going to learn.
I know.
I know.
What they're going to accomplish.
That's what
they have to have a lot of information to present them, you know, over 5.5.
My sister said, so if you saw President Trump there, what's the one question that you would ask him? It's like, I couldn't think of anything. Do you like mysteries? I don't know.
Does that mean you're taking a book with?
No. Just kidding.
Off from a book, huh? See, I didn't have much going on. I was supposed to be on the radio, but I had switched with Commissioner Vetch, so it'll be interesting to see what he talked about. There was an open house at Bertram Lake on the 17th, which I was unable to make. I was working on my car wash. I sent me the wrong parts. That was fun stuff. So, I am meeting with some constituents tonight regarding their concerns with money in politics. So,
okay.
It'll be interesting to find out. They want to present to the whole board.
I believe that will be on the agenda.
So we'll see. You met with them already?
Different group. If we're talking about the same, they're meeting with different people.
We'll
different people are meeting with different commissioners, is my understanding. So.
Okay. So those of you that haven't met with them yet, you can look forward to it, and then we'll see them probably here then. Commissioner Vetch?
All right, well, I was on the radio for Mark last week on the 16th. I talked a little bit about vacating portions of this building, the new building that we're for the Justice Center. Talked about that, the groundbreaking. We talked a little bit about the Wright inspection station, and that being open now. Those are kind of the main topics of that. On Thursday last week on the 17th, I had Trailblazer meeting. It was probably one of the lighter agendas that we had, but still nonetheless was quite long, but it's always good fun. Mostly surrounded from update on our phone systems. We renewed some of the service contracts for some of the entities that we do contracted work for through Trailblazer, and then the rest of it was consumed through the director's review. that was that one there. And then, other than that, last week was a pretty light week, other than, myself and Commissioner Dahl. I met with, Brian Murphy and his team from H2O Overviewers, as we talked about earlier, which was a it was a great learning experience, I think, to make our, ditch systems even more robust, because we'll have more information to be able to put into those files on Drainage DB with this process.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
We can be more efficient with the process, and it'll be, sounds like, less expensive, so, I mean, that's,
at least people on the ditches.
we'll be able to do more.
Well, the difference is right now what you get for, mapping through, boots on the ground is you're just gonna get 40 grids with 40s and dollar amounts. Well, now, the new with H2 Overviewers, they're gonna give you the grid by 40, but they're also gonna, within that grid, they're going to be able to tell you which areas are highland, lowlands, what areas basically tells you why this area is this much benefit versus another, because they're gonna show you on the map the water flow.
Well, and the other problem that we had is was so few viewers that, you know, I mean, we're looking at projects that could have been done a few years ago, but no, there was nobody to do the viewing, so this is hopefully can expedite those processes too.
Because like the viewer, like Mr. Rinquist, he's out 2 years already.
Oh, exactly.
On
And
some of the ditches we've requested.
Oh, yeah, yep.
That's a challenge.
Yep.
It is.
Oh, I did forget to mention one thing. Commissioner Burrell showed you a picture. I was down at the state capitol. Senator Kiffmeyer had
Photobombing.
had asked me to come down along with a number of other people, regarding if the governor would veto things, how it would affect us. I went down, was dressed in my work clothes because I was actually working before I ran down, and mentioned how it was going to affect us with the court case with the state auditor and the money that we and Becker County lost in that, and also as a business owner with the tax conformity, that not getting signed, how that's going to affect my taxes as a business, and it's going to be a lot more expensive to do it next year.
So the analysis is change your federal to single zero now, because otherwise you're going to be paying in next year.
Yeah, I was watching the news, and this camera flashed through. I was like, is that Delighten? It sure looks like him, but it kind of just went, you know, like that. But you were kind of right, you know, right in the front.
He hobnobs with all the pretty people down there all the time.
And Senator Kiffmeyer wasn't there, but the Speaker of the House and the Speaker of the Senate were both there. And there were, you know, a number of different people on how the budget's going to be affected to those different things. And unfortunately, another year of not getting much accomplished, which is disappointing. Hopefully next year's another year, and I don't know, we keep getting behind farther and farther, so hopefully they're going to be able to get a lot accomplished next year. On the bright side, at least the surplus should increase. All right, any other to come before the board? We are adjourned at 10:04.
Okay.